Today is Maundy Thursday, and it begins what is known as the sacred Triduum of Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, and Holy Saturday, before we can celebrate that earth-shattering event on Easter Sunday. As we enter the sacred Triduum, we are invited to listen to that Mandatum from which we get our word Maundy. And the word Mandatum is a Latin word which means command. The Lord, before his passion and death, gave one command to his disciples by using two related symbols. In the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, the symbol is given at the Last Supper when Jesus breaks the bread and identifies it with his body, and shares the wine and identifies it with his blood. In the Gospel of John, the related symbol which is given is the washing of the feet of the disciples even when they are in the midst of the supper. There are 4 points that I would like to reflect on as we enter this sacred Triduum and on this Thursday called Maundy Thursday. And the first of these 4 is this: that with Jesus, there was no separation between word and action. Jesus did what he said, and he only spoke about his actions. Jesus knew that Peter would deny him. Jesus knew that Judas would betray him. Jesus knew that the other 10 would run away. And despite knowing this, he sits down at table with them to eat a meal. At the time of Jesus, the meal was considered the most intimate of communions between two males, as intimate as the communion between a man and a woman, between a husband and a wife. So by sitting down to eat with one who will deny, with another who will betray, and with 10 who will run away, Jesus already shows that the love that he proclaimed in his words, the love which he received from the Father, was an unconditional love. The love never depended on the reaction of those whom he loved, even if they would not love him in turn, even if they would deny and betray and run away and not be there when he needed them. His love would not falter. His love would not lessen. His love would be the same. And that is why Jesus adopts within the meal the washing of the feet of the disciples. On the surface level, this symbol is regarded as a symbol of service, as a symbol of reaching out, as a symbol of a master serving his servants. But it is much deeper than that. And the reason why it is much deeper, and this is the second point for our reflection, is that Jesus washes the feet of his disciples not at the beginning of the meal, as was usually done as a sign of respect and honor to the guest who was invited. It was done within the meal, even as they had begun, even as they were eating. And when Jesus got up from his table, everyone would have been wondering what he was going to do. And when he asked for a bowl of water and began to wrap the towel around his waist, what John is telling us is that Jesus, through this symbol, is saying much more than service. He is telling his disciples that their way of life must be like his. They must imitate him not merely in the act of washing the feet of others, but they must imitate him in the love that he pours out in this symbol. Service is only one part of this beautiful symbol. What is more important and what must be seen at the deeper level is the love with which Jesus does what he does. So through this symbol, and even through the symbol of sharing bread and sharing wine and identifying them with his body and with his blood, what Jesus is in effect saying is that their lives must be a Eucharist. Their lives must be a thanksgiving. Their lives must be lives of reaching out. He's not telling his disciples, he's not telling us that once a year on the feast of Maundy Thursday, we must reach out in service and wash the feet of others. He's not telling us that we must do that only during the liturgy. What he is saying is that washing of the feet, that sharing of the bread and the wine was a symbol which points to a different reality, a reality beyond itself, a reality of unconditional love. And this brings us to the third point, and that is that in this action, whether in the Gospel of John, the washing of the feet, whether in the synoptic Gospels, the sharing of the bread and wine, Jesus summarizes his life. The Gospel of John in chapter 3, verse 16 says that God so loved the world that he sent his only Son, not to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved through him. And in these actions, in the synoptics and in the Gospel of John, Jesus summarizes. He brings his whole life together. And he also summarizes what will happen to him on Good Friday and on Holy Saturday and on Easter Sunday. So Maundy Thursday is a day in which we can summarize the entire life of Jesus. It was not merely a life of service. It was not merely a life of reaching out. It was not merely a life of working miracles and of telling parables and of making people whole. It was a life, as Peter summarizes in Acts chapter 10, verse 38, when Jesus went about doing good. And the reason why Jesus could do good was because his inner being was good. So whether it is the action of the washing of the feet, or whether it is the action of the sharing of the bread and wine, all of these must be seen as a summary of the love of Jesus. And that brings us to the final reflection which we make on our own lives when we try to relate it with the life of Jesus. The first reflection is my giving a conditional giving? Do my actions match my words? Is there a synchrony? Is there a harmony in what I do and in what I say? Or am I a person who says one thing and does another? Is there a dichotomy within me? Am I a person who does not do what I say? This is the first point that we must ask ourselves. The second is my inner being good? If my inner being is good, if my heart is good, if my spirit is good, then my actions will automatically be good. So whether it is the washing of the feet, whether it is the sharing of the bread and wine, whether it is reaching out to someone in need, my actions will always be good because they flow from a being that is good. And finally, we need to ask ourselves whether our own lives, like the life of Jesus, can be summarized in one word: a life of love. As we enter into the sacred doom, let us be inspired by our Lord, who held nothing back, but gave himself up, so that the whole of humanity, the whole of the cosmos might be saved.